Well, good morning, and thank you for joining me again. So today, a little bit different. What I've decided to do today is go on a little adventure, but it's going to be an afternoon, evening adventure, and I'm going to head up to a place called Johns Mountain. But before I do that, I wanted to show you a couple of things on the computer, just to give you an indication of how I've planned this little adventure out. So what I want to show you is basically, if we look here on the computer, I wanted to show you the weather. And what happened was that last night we had a huge thunderstorm. It was on all through the night, and there's a big cold front coming through. So the indication is that the air after that storm should be really clear. Now we're getting into pollen season, and the air can be quite hazy. But with all that rain, it should have knocked down any particles in the air, and the air after it should be quite clear. So what I was looking for was to see whether we were going to have a nice occasion for a sunset. And there's 2 or 3 things that I look for. So here on this app, which is called Wonderground, I can see that in the evening time, just about sunset, we're going to have partly cloudy sky, that the cloud cover is going to be at about 44%, that the humidity is going to be relatively low, and I think if I click over here we can see, yep, that the wind speed, well, there's going to be a little bit of wind, but hopefully that shouldn't affect too much. So indications are quite good for a nice sunset. But if I take a look further over, I've got this other app here called Clear Outside. On Friday, which is today, it's telling me that low cloud is going to be at 0%, medium cloud is going to be at 0%, but high cloud is going to be right up there towards 100%. Well, that's too much. That's going to completely obliterate the sky. So I've got a little bit of a conflict between the 2 apps there. One saying 43% and the other one saying 90 to 100%. So I checked one more little app here. As I say, this one was called Clear Outside. This one here is called Clear Dark Sky. And for Dalton, which is in the area where I'm heading, if I just click at around the time of sunset, we can see with the dark blue, that's 100% cover. But around the time of sunset, it starts to clear just a little bit, and then it keeps clearing. So here we are, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. If I click on that, I get a map. And this is what sort of made me decide, yes, I'm going to go for it today. So it's showing that it's going to be relatively clear, but to the west there's this bank of cloud. Now what I need is for the sun, which is setting over here in the west, to be in clear sky and lighting up any high clouds that might be above me. So I think there's a chance of a very nice sunset, but also a chance that we might not get anything at all. And really, that's the decision I got to make. But I think with the combination of the fact that we've got some high cloud, that we've got clear skies after a storm, that we've got low humidity, and just because it's going to be a very nice afternoon for a walk anyway, I think I'm going to go for it. So now that we're finished here, I'm going to pack my bags, and well, it's still cloudy and rainy a little bit now, but the front is meant to run through before lunchtime. So I'm going to head out after lunch and head up to Johns Mountain, and I'll see you there. Okay, so we made it, and welcome to the top of Johns Mountain. Now this is where the lookout is, and that I believe is west. So this is where I want to be this evening when the sun's eventually going down. But what I'm going to do now is there's a very nice loop hike. If we head off to I guess it's to the south, along the ridge there, it eventually comes back around and goes down through past the Keown Falls, which is down off the escarpment over here, just a little bit I think further to the south, and then it eventually loops back up
So I want to go off and do that now, have a nice wee walk this afternoon. As you can see, the cold front has come through, so we've got some beautiful skies. And while I'm doing that, I want to keep an eye on the sky, because if you look up there right now, we've actually got quite a bit of alto cirrus and alto cumulus, and really that's the very best thing for a good sunset. So if that sticks around and the sun goes down over here, then that should really light up later on. So far weather predictions are good, but we'll have to keep our fingers crossed. And with this wind though, it's about 10 miles an hour, I think, gusting probably a bit more. It could well move through quicker than I'd hoped. So anyway, we'll have to wait and see, but for now we'll get the bag and start heading off on this little hike. So I'm stopped on probably the furthest end of the ridge, as far south as it goes, on one of these little rocky outcrops that there are every now and again. And it's been very flat and gentle as far as the walk's concerned, very easy path. And every now and again you get these rocky outcrops, and they have these, what they call around here, winter views. And that basically means in the middle of summer, or as soon as there's any leaves on the trees, then you can't see anything. But at this time of year, where the leaves haven't quite come out yet again, you can actually see through the trees and off into the distance. So it's quite nice, not too bad. After now, I tuck back around to the, I guess it's the east slope, and start heading north again, and then should make it to Keown Falls about 2/3 of the way back. And well, with the rainfall last night, should have a pretty decent flow to it. So looking forward to that. And well, up on this exposed ridge, no sign of any flowers at all yet. So hoping for a little bit more where it's a little more protected on the other side. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, so I've made it to Keown Falls, and it's quite a small falls, which is not surprising really, because there's not that much height between here and the top of the ridge, which I've been walking down. Now, so the catchment area is not that great, so even though there was a lot of water last night, I don't think it's ever going to be a huge waterfall, this one. But it's running quite well, and anyway, I've set up here, just shooting across the middle of the fall. There's some very large tree trunks in the way over here, so I've come over to the side a little bit for my first shot, and I'm just, well, you can probably see here on the live view, I'm just shooting in black and white mode straight across, using the curtain of the water coming down as an abstract sort of texture to the rocks which are behind. And I'm shooting at about, well, certainly on f11, focused in on the rocks at the back, and then I'm shooting at about half a second on ISO 200, so a very straightforward shot. I haven't even got any filters on at all, no polarizer, no ND filter, it's not necessary. It's so dark down here behind the waterfall. So that'll be my first shot, and go ahead and take that one now. So I had a wee experiment with a couple of shots down there by the falls. Actually went behind the falls to see if I could get a picture with a wide angle of the beautiful little ferns and lichens and everything behind the falls. But when I slowed it down to get enough light, there was actually quite a bit of wind. I guess it's from the falling water just creating its own wind, and it was making the ferns and everything move. So that shot wasn't going to happen. And then I took another shot just with the 50mm macro, but from a distance. It's the only one I got with me today, so I took that from up above as well, shooting down into the bottom of where the falls actually crash on the rocks below. And that one's definitely very experimental, so if it comes out I'll put it up. But as a final shot, I was looking for one just as a memory shot of the actual falls itself, one that can remind me what it looks like. So I've actually come around the far side of the falls here, shooting back to where the sun is just going down over the top ridge. So I've waited for it to go down far enough, and I've taken this shot that you can see behind me here. So it's just basically, if you look here, we've got the big main rock there in the foreground, and it's kind of framing around the actual falls themselves, and they're coming down through the middle of the image. So as I say, just a memento shot of the actual Keown Falls. That's me back up to the overlook here up on the top of Johns Mountain, and yeah, no, that was a really nice trail. Not that difficult at all. I mean, basically you're walking along a fairly even path along the ridge here to the south, and then it tucks back around via the two waterfalls which I've now discovered. The one that I spent some time at, the little one, and then the bigger Keown Falls, which I guess is the more popular one. And then you've got a little bit of an incline back up to the parking lot here. But no, really it was a very nice trail, highly recommended. So the news is also quite good here. We've got about an hour and a half to go. The sun is setting down over here, so I guess it's going to set pretty much directly out away from me here. But the good news is that the cloud in the sky, it hasn't completely covered over. It's not that 99 to 100% that a couple of the apps were saying. It's more like the one which is around 50%, and the cloud is definitely high cloud. A lot of altus cirrus. There was a little bit of altocumulus before. That would be nice as well, but no, I'm not complaining at the moment. So we just have to hope it lasts, and that the sun has a chance to peek through just before it hits the horizon, or even just after it hits the horizon. It's quite often at its best about 15 minutes after the sun goes down. So I'm just going to hang out here. I'm going to have a little bit to eat. I've got an apple and some cheese and maybe a couple of oat cakes or something, and hang out, enjoy the view. I've been watching a couple of turkey vultures there as well, just soaring on the ridge here, so that's quite nice. So I'm sure I'll be fine for the next hour or so. Well, as the sun almost set there below the horizon, and not much to take really at this point in time. I've been picking out some details down in the valley when the sun was a little bit higher, and that was fun. But right now, well, we still do have some alto cirrus clouds in the sky. All the alto cumulus has disappeared, but we also have quite a bit of vapor trail. So I'm not 100% sure what it's going to look like. I think we'll probably get a little bit of colour, and I'm certainly going to stick around for another 20-25 minutes or so to see what does happen. But as far as the exercise is concerned, I think it's been a success. I think we've proven that we can predict to a reasonable degree when we're going to have a decent sunset, but of course you always need that little bit of luck as well. Well, it's getting a little darker, and the last of the colour is just disappearing over the horizon there. But we did get some colour, and there were some clouds that turned up just at the appropriate time, as it were, so we did get lucky. And we've had a cracking day. I had a lovely walk, a nice little waterfall, and topped it off with the sunset here. So I took a couple of quick panoramas, just I think at the peak colour time, and I'll choose the best one of those and stick it up for you. But just wanted to thank you again for joining me on my adventure, and we'll do Adele again next week. So we'll see you then. Bye for now.